Every story's got a spark, and every spark's got a name. This is the journey of finding mine. Who am I when the lights go low? Who am I when the world says no? Searching through my past, trying to free my soul, one truth at a time, letting every story unfold. Who am I?
Yeah, I'm more than the pain,
Who am I?
more than the pride. Who am I?
Who am I?
Walking in purpose, no mask, no disguise. This is my voice, my rise, my life. Welcome to Who Am I?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Who Am I podcast. But before we go any further, before we get into today's topic, I want to start the same way every time. Not with content, not with teaching, but with care. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really answer it, even if only in your heart. How are you doing today? Not the automatic answer, not the polite one, not the one you give when someone asks in passing, but how are you really doing? Take a second, breathe, check in with yourself, because sometimes we move through life so fast that we forget to stop and acknowledge what we're carrying. Some of you are listening while holding a lot together. You're being strong for everyone else, showing up, smiling, really pushing through. And nobody has stopped long enough to ask how you are. Others of you are listening in a quiet moment, late at night, early in the morning, or in between responsibilities, just needing a voice that feels safe. Wherever you are, however you're feeling, I want you to know this. You matter. Not because of what you do, not because of what you provide, not because of how much you give. You matter because you exist. Your story matters. Your struggles matter. Your healing matters. And I'm really glad you're here. If today feels heavy, if life pressing you lately, if you've been carrying things you haven't said out loud, you don't have to carry it alone in this moment. I may not know your name. I may not know your situation, but I want you to hear this clearly. I'm here for you. This podcast isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about reminding you that even when life is hard, you are not powerless. Whatever you're facing right now, you can get through it. You may not have all the answers yet. You may not know what the next step looks like, but you've already survived things you once thought you wouldn't. That means there's strength in you, even if you don't feel it today. And if today is a good day, if you're feeling light, hopeful, or at peace, I'm grateful for that too. Hold on to it. Let it refill you. Let it remind you what's possible. Both truth can exist here. Joy and struggle, faith and questions, strength and vulnerability. You don't have to choose one. This is a place where you can be honest. So wherever you're listening from, your car, your home, your job, your headphones in a crowded room, I want you to know you're seen, you're valued, and your presence here matters. Now that we've checked in, now that we've grounded ourselves, let's lean into today, because today's conversations is one that sits at the center of everything. Today's title is, Who Am I? And this isn't a surface level question. It's not a slogan. It's a mirror. Today we're going to talk about identity, not the version of you people see, but the version of you that shows up when nobody's watching. We're going to explore what shapes us, what labels us, and what we've been carrying, sometimes without realizing it. We'll talk about the roles we play, the expectations we wear, and the moments when life forces us to ask, is this really me? Or who I've learned to be? This episode is an invitation to pause, to reflect, to look inward without judgment, because understanding who you are changes how you live. So if you're ready, if you're open, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, let's begin. This is the Who Am I podcast, and today's episode is Who Am I? So once again, everyone, welcome to the Who Am I podcast. This is an introductory episode, and I'm really glad you're here. Not just scrolling, not rushing, not multitasking, but here. Before we jump into anything else, I want to invite you to do something simple but powerful. Take a breath, just one, because what you're stepping into right now isn't just another podcast episode. It's a conversation, it's a pause, it's a mirror. This is the Who Am I podcast. And that question, who am I, isn't a catchy title. It's a lifelong question. One we ask in different ways at different seasons of our lives. Sometimes we ask it out of curiosity, sometimes out of pain, and sometimes out of growth. Let me ask you something. Have you ever reached a point in your life where everything looks fine on the outside, but something on the inside felt unfinished? Like you were functioning, but not fulfilled, surviving, but not settled, successful, but still searching. Yeah. That's where this podcast was born. See, we live in a world obsessed with image, performance, and perception. We're taught how to build a resume, but not an identity. Think about that for a moment. We're taught how to brand ourselves, but not how to be honest with ourselves. How to chase purpose, but not how to sit with our pain. And over time, we collect labels. Some we earn, some we inherit, some we accept just to survive. Strong one, provider, leader, problem solver, the one who holds it together. And those labels, they can become cages if you're not careful. Because eventually, life will ask you a question not a title can answer. Who are you when the role no longer fits? That's the space this podcast lives in. This is not a podcast about perfection. It's not about having it all figured out. It's not about pretending faith erases struggle. It's about honesty, reflection, and transformation. See, every Monday, this podcast will challenge you to look inward, not with shame, but with courage. because growth doesn't start with information, it starts with awareness. And awareness often begins with discomfort. Now, let me be clear. This space is not heavy all the time. We'll laugh here. We'll tell stories. We'll poke fun at ourselves. Because sometimes humor is how truth slips past our defense. But don't mistake light moments for shallow ones. This podcast will ask real questions. Questions like, who am I beyond what I do? Who am I when life changes the plan? Who am I when God is silent? Who am I becoming? And do I even recognize myself anymore? Because here's the truth nobody tells you early enough. You don't stay the same person forever. And if you're not intentional, you'll wake up one day living a life that fits who you used to be. See, this podcast merely exists for people who feel that tension, for people who are evolving, outgrowing old versions of themselves, wrestling with faith, purpose, identity, and direction. For people who are doing the work even when it's uncomfortable. This is for the leader who pours into everyone else but feels empty sometimes. The believer who loves God but still has questions. The strong one who doesn't feel allowed to be weak. The person who looks in the mirror and thinks, I don't know who I am anymore. And maybe that's not a bad thing. That's not failure. That's transition. And transition deserves language. That's why the Who Am I podcast exists. See, this podcast is a mirror, but not the kind that critiques your flaws, the kind that asks you to tell the truth. Now let's talk about why reflection matters so much. Most people don't change because they don't see themselves clearly. We explain away habits. We justify reactions. We blame seasons, people, circumstances, but reflection forces responsibility. And responsibility isn't about guilt. It's about power. Because once you see something clearly, you can choose differently. And choice is where transformation lives. It really does. That's why this podcast doesn't rush answers. We sit with questions, we unpack them, we turn them over, we let them challenge us, because the goal isn't to feel inspired for a moment. The goal is to become something new over time. Now, let me tell you how this journey begins. See, February 2nd, 2026, that's when the very first episode drops. And the title is The Mirror Test. See, this episode is the foundation. Everything else we talk about, identity, purpose, faith, relationship, growth, builds from here. The mirror test isn't about self-criticism. It's about self-awareness. It's that moment when you stop performing and start reflecting. See, in this episode, we'll talk about what happens when you finally slow down long enough to ask yourself some honest questions. Not the questions you answer publicly, the ones you avoid privately. Questions like, do I like who I'm becoming? Am I living from conviction or convenience? Am I healing or just hiding? Am I honest with myself about where I am? See, the mirror test is that quiet moment where excuses don't work, where you realize I can't keep blaming my past if I want a different future. I can't keep blaming my past if I want a different future. We'll also talk about how easy it is to confuse identity with activity, how doing good things doesn't always mean becoming a healthy person, how faith can exist without self-awareness, and why that's dangerous. See, we'll also explore the difference between confidence and clarity, between image and integrity, between growth and busyness. And we'll also talk about the courage it takes to face yourself without filters. Because here's the truth. You don't fail the mirror test by being imperfect. You fail it by being dishonest. See, this episode isn't here to expose you. It's here to empower you. Because clarity is kindness, and clarity changes how you move. Throughout this podcast, you'll hear moments where I pause intentionally, because reflection requires space. You'll be invited to think, to journal, to sit with discomfort, even to laugh at yourself sometimes. And yes, you'll be challenged, but never shamed, because shame keeps people stuck, while truth sets people free. See, this podcast believes you can be honest and hopeful, faith-filled and self-aware, strong and still growing. You don't have to be fully healed to be worthy. You don't have to have it all together to be vulnerable. You just have to be willing to look, not to become someone else, but to become more you. The version of you that isn't just performing for applause. The version of you that isn't hiding behind titles. The version of you that knows who they are even while still becoming. So if you've ever felt like you're standing between chapters, if you ever sensed that life is calling you deeper, if you ever looked in the mirror and thought there has to be more than this, then you're in the right place. Welcome to reflection. Welcome to growth. Welcome to honest conversation that matters. Welcome to the Who Am I podcast. And it all begins February 2nd, 2026 with the mirror test. Let's walk this journey together. So before you move on with your day, before the next task, the next notification, the next responsibility, I want to give you a challenge. Not something complicated, not something overwhelming, but something intentional. Because reflection without action fades, and action is where change begins. So here's today's challenge. Sometime within the next 24 hours, I want you to stand in front of a mirror. No phone, no distractions, just you. And I want you to look at yourself, not to criticize, not to judge, not to fix, but to acknowledge. And when you're ready, I want you to ask yourself out loud, who am I right now? Really? Not who you were, not who people think you are, not who you're trying to be. Who are you right now in this very moment? Then I want you to take it one step deeper. Ask yourself these 3 questions. And don't rush them. First, what part of me I've been ignoring? Is it a feeling? Is it a wound? Or is it a truth I've been avoiding because it requires change? Second, what part of me has grown that I haven't acknowledged. Maybe you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Maybe you've healed more than you realize. See, growth doesn't always announce itself. Thirdly, what part of me is ready for the next level? Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Then, and this is important, I want you to write one sentence, just one. Finish this sentence honestly. I am becoming. I want you to finish that sentence honestly. I am becoming. Not who you think you should become, but who you know you're being shaped into. And once you write it, read it back to yourself out loud. Because hearing truth in your own voice carries power. Now, here's the hardest part of the challenge. Do not beat yourself up for where you are. Reflection is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to grow, permission to change, permission to evolve. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are becoming. And becoming requires awareness. If this challenge stirs something in you, good. That means you're alive to the process. Carry this awareness with you into your week. Pay attention to how you react. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what aligns with you. Carry this awareness with you into your week. Pay attention to how you react. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what aligns with who you're becoming. Because when you know who you are, you move differently. And this is just the beginning. This is the Who Am I podcast. And today's challenge is to meet yourself honestly and take one step forward. Finally, I want to introduce you to the Who Am I affirmation. This is a daily affirmation that I want you to commit yourself to. And just simply repeat after me. I am not defined by my past or limited by my mistakes. I am growing, learning, and becoming who I was created to be. I have value beyond titles, roles, and expectations. I choose honesty over fear and growth over comfort. I am allowed to change, heal, and evolve. I walk with purpose, clarity, and courage. I am becoming more aligned with my true self every day. And who I am is enough. As we close today's episode, I want to thank you for taking this time for yourself. If something you heard inspired you, challenged you, or made you pause and reflect, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who may need it. Invite them into the conversation. See, this podcast grows when we grow together through shared stories, honest reflections, and real connections. Every listen, every share, every conversation helps create a community rooted in purpose and truth. Until next time, keep reflecting, keep becoming, and remember, you matter. This is the Who Am I podcast.
Who am I? Yeah, I'm more than the pain, more than the pride. Who am I? Walking in purpose, no mask, no disguise. This is my voice, my rise, my life. Welcome to Who Am I?